it's Cecil and it's Tuesday, and today we are making a gingerbread house together. The ingredient list and recipe will be in the description box below, but we are going to be starting out with 3 and 3/4 cups of flour. I used a sort of mock up of the Better Batter flour blend, but using Better Batter would probably work just the same. And then uh, I was kind of whisking as I went just to make sure that nothing clumped. And then we are going to measure out 140 grams of arrowroot powder, tapioca powder, or cornstarch. Any of those will more or less do the trick. And then 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda, and then just kind of add cinnamon, ginger, and other spices until it feels right. Depending on whether or not you plan on eating it will depend on how much you want to add in. And then we're gonna add 3/4 cups plus 3 tablespoons of granular sugar, and then we're gonna make a well in the middle of the batter and add in our 3/4 cups plus 3 tablespoons of butter. Then we're going to add 1/4 cup and 3.5 tablespoons of molasses. And I started with whisking. It did not whisk. Don't whisk to combine. Use a spatula or some sort of stand mixer. And then we're going to add 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, and then 1/4 cup plus 3.5 tablespoons of just egg. Then we're going to add 1 1/4 teaspoons of vanilla extract and send that to a stand mixer to make sure that it's nice and mixed. Make sure to flour your station so that when you're rolling it out, nothing gets stuck. And then roll out the dough to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. Pretty standard cookie size. It'll be just thick enough to have some good form. The measurements that I used for my gingerbread house are in the blog post that I've linked below. You can use a cookie cutter. You can, use some sort of like stencil. I freehanded it because I like to live life on the edge. So my house ended up a little bit crooked, but you know what? That is completely fine with me. Um, and then as you make the pieces, transfer them very carefully onto a couple of baking sheets that have parchment paper on them. And oh dear, yeah. So my cat was quote unquote helping with making this house. He has a bit of a sweet tooth, so I had to stop him from getting too in the way. But yeah, just repeat the process, cut out uh 2 front pieces, 2 side pieces, and then 2 roof pieces. Um, and make sure to leave room for an overhang with the roof. That is one thing. I did end up having to redo the roof when I realized that I made it perfectly fitted instead of, roofish. But you're going to want the oven to be at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and the pieces of cookie will bake for about 14 to 20 minutes, depending on how thick the cookies are, really. Basically, just until they're golden brown. And then you're going to want to assemble the house and hold the pieces together for about a minute each, and then just like let it dry for like an hour before putting on the roof pieces, and then let it dry for another 30 to 45 minutes. I left that part out because, like I said, I had to completely redo my roof pieces, so there was just like a lot going on. But once that's done, you can pretty much just decorate it. It feels really intimidating and ambitious to make a gingerbread house from scratch, but I think that it ended up being pretty simple. Again, my house is crooked because I decided to live life on the edge and not use a stencil. But I think that it turned out super cute in the end. Also, I would recommend that when you're using the icing for decorations, that you decorate with icing before assembling the house, simply because, as you can see, gravity happens while it's drying. I think that it kind of gave it a snowed on effect at the end, so I'm not too disappointed with it. But yeah, I used some gumdrops, some cinnamon imperials, um and a peppermint for the decorations. And also, you may notice as I'm turning the house around that there is a sort of stained glass window effect in the front. I decided that I wanted to cut out little windows in the front of the house, and for like the last 5 minutes of baking, I put some crushed Jolly Rancher pieces in there to melt and make like that stained glass effect. I think that it ended up looking pretty cool, so I am quite happy with that. But yeah, decorate to your heart's content and make sure to let everything dry, and then it is all set to be put up as a decoration, to be eaten as a snack, whatever your heart so desires. I ended up having a little bit of leftover batter because my house is kind of narrow. Um, So I was able to make like some gingerbread cookies out of it, and it's perfectly edible. It's it tastes like gingerbread. I definitely put a lot of um spices into it though. I didn't just do like a little cinnamon and a little ginger. I ended up putting like some allspice and some nutmeg and some cloves into it just to like really make it taste like Christmas. Um, I like spice cookies. Uh, it's the German in me. So, yeah. Oh my goodness. And another cat coming to help with the process. Although, that particular cat doesn't want the sweets. She was more interested in the fact that I had a glass of eggnog. Also, you may see my keyboard sitting in frame, and the reason for that is because I was actually live streaming on Twitch as I was baking this. So that was pretty fun. It was nice having just like people with me as I was doing it. It kind of helped me keep going with it. Definitely be careful when you're pressing the pieces on because it is very likely that you will accidentally push in your walls, and you gotta be careful with that one. But once it is all decorated, you are set. You are good to go. Fix pieces as needed. And that is the gingerbread house.